My name is Jim Durkin. I'm the House Minority Leader from Western Springs, Illinois, the 82nd District, and I'm here with Deputy Leaders Dan Brady of Bloomington and Tom Demmer of Dixon. As we go into the final days of session, I think it's important to remind everyone here in Springfield that words matter and your commitments mean something. When someone gives you your word, particularly in this building, you should expect them to live up to it. When someone is placed in a position of leadership, they are responsible for the actions that happen under their watch. Now, for years, candidate Pritzker and also Governor Pritzker has promised to veto a gerrymandered map, maps drawn by politicians. In response to a candidate questionnaire in 2018 that read, "Will you pledge as governor to veto any state legislative redistricting map proposal that is in any way drafted or created by legislators, political party leaders, and or staff or allies?" Candidate Pritzker responded, "Yes, I will pledge to veto." Then he went on to support an independent commission for redistricting. Those are very important issues for the voters of Illinois. It was just a few years ago that 600,000 Illinoisans signed a petition to create an independent map for that question to be placed on the ballot. However, today, the Democrats are drawing a partisan map behind closed doors created by legislators, political party leaders, and their staff and allies. And from what we've heard from the governor so far is that he has gone back on his word on vetoing any map drawn by legislators. There is no real input from the public. There is no transparency. There isn't even a real idea of what phony data that they are trying to use in order to pass partisan maps. Governor Pritzker has shown no leadership from the second floor to tell the Democrats to do the right thing, what he had pledged to do, and also what the Speaker and also many of his members have pledged over the years to do, a transparent process, taking it out of the legislators' hands. Now, the governor just can't stick his head in the sand and say it's out of his hands. He is the leader of their party. Governor Pritzker has done nothing to live up to his commitments from the campaign. And the words he used to lure voters has not been nothing but a hollow promise. I hope that in the remaining days of session, everyone in these chambers and this state remembers how important it is to live up to your promises, and that without keeping your commitments, there can be no agreements on the major issues facing us, particularly in these last 2 weeks. I'd like to turn it over now to Deputy Leader Tom Demmer.
Thanks, Leader Durkin. Good morning. I'm Tom Demmer, State Representative from Dixon. In order to be an effective leader, you have to have credibility. And credibility can take a long time to earn and to develop, but it can be lost very quickly. Unfortunately, Governor Pritzker has lost a lot of credibility over the last year, not just in the redistricting promise that he appears to be going back on, but also when it comes to the state budget. We heard first from Governor Pritzker as he was pushing a $3.4 billion tax increase on the people of Illinois that if that plan didn't pass, if voters didn't ratify his tax increase, that the state budget would be decimated. The voters said no to the tax. The state budget is not decimated. We then again heard in January this year as he unveiled to legislators that he had a decoupling proposal that would raise $1 billion in taxes on small businesses across the state of Illinois by intercepting some of the federal relief money that came to them as a result of the CARES Act and the pandemic. He said that if we didn't take action and intercept $1 billion from small businesses, that the state budget would be decimated. Legislators said no, the state budget was not decimated. The governor, in his introduced budget, listed a series of what he calls corporate loopholes and said that we needed to close those corporate loopholes or the state budget would be decimated. These corporate loopholes are things like a scholarship program for low-income families in Illinois. These are things like the franchise tax elimination that was a result of bipartisan negotiations and was an agreement that the governor made and that he himself signed into law. And reinstating the franchise tax would raise taxes on hundreds of thousands of small businesses across the state of Illinois. the Blue Collar Jobs Act, the Manufacturers Purchase Credit. These are things where the governor agreed with Republicans that were priorities for making Illinois more economically competitive and would help put Illinois in a better place as we reemerge after the public health emergency and the pandemic have subsided. These are issues where credibility was built over a period of time but lost very quickly. In order to have a responsible budget this year, the governor should immediately rescind his proposals for massive tax increases and should rescind his proposals to go back on his word and to break the negotiated agreement that was struck between our caucus and the governor just a few short years ago. We have an opportunity to show responsibility in budgeting, and we also have an opportunity to ensure that Illinois is competitive as we reemerge from the pandemic and look to build a strong and vibrant economy again. I'll now turn it over to my colleague, Deputy Leader Dan Brady.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Representative Dan Brady. I represent the 105th District in Central Illinois. That includes parts of Bloomington, Normal, and McLean and Livingston counties. This administration's refusal to take responsibility for their failures and to work to fix them has cost Illinois families dearly. Families thrown out of work this past year by the coronavirus shutdown have been something that in weeks or even months, they've been waiting for responses for unemployment regarding their claims. If that isn't bad enough, a data breach on the Illinois Department of Unemployment Security website also left them open to identity theft on top of everything else. A year into the governor's coronavirus response plan, we still don't have answers about this complete failure. The governor has been dodging questions for a year or more that we need answers to in regards to these shutdowns, the struggles that have occurred on the unemployment claims process, and the list goes on. To make matters worse, IDES offices across the state of Illinois have been closed so families can't get an in-person meeting with an agent. In our district offices, we and our staffs continue to try and conduct Zoom meetings, seminars, making calls to IDES ourselves to help constituents try and navigate through this process as they try and get the help that they need. But we need the governor to step up, take responsibility for this failure on his watch. When we get to the bottom of why business closures policies were enacted last year without even the basic resources and places needed to help the displaced workers, we don't have the answers. And a big question remains, when will our local IDES offices open? Thank you very much.
So we're glad to take questions from any of you.